In this video, I will briefly talk about writing about literature to help you avoid having writer's block. Some guidelines to consider when writing about literature include keeping in mind that your assignment is brief. You're writing 3 to 4 pages, so you want to stay focused. You want to use a formal tone and style. Please use the third person point of view, and do not use the first and second person point of view in a literary analysis. The audience is serious, and you can avoid writing plot summaries because your audience knows the story. Use evidence taken directly from the text, which in this case is going to be the short story, The Paper Menagerie, and secondary sources that I will provide for you next week. You are going to write a critical analysis rather than an evaluative analysis. An evaluation is subjective and involves your opinion about how the story is written, if it's interesting, etc., which is not what you're going to do in this essay. Instead, you're going to take a critical analysis point of view, which means you're going to look at different considerations about the story, for example, the use of figurative language or a character analysis, which does not involve your opinion or your evaluation of how well written the story is, for example. For the thesis and support, you first want to create a clear thesis statement that makes an argument. So your statement must be debatable. People should not all agree on the point you're making. That makes it debatable. You want to convince or persuade your audience that your idea is valid as you write your thesis, and you're going to do this by using evidence to explain and support your thesis statement. You will use details from the story, which is your primary source, and also discussion from critics, which will be your secondary sources. You want to give your paper a title that is relevant to the topic of your paper. So the title is important, and you can use these guidelines to get started. I'm going to just show you an example rather than read all of this information. So write the author's name, Ken Liu's, the story of the short story, The Paper Menagerie, and a critical analysis. You don't have to do this or use this exact title, but if you're having trouble, this is a starting point. The introduction should be 1 paragraph. It should include the story's name, The Paper Menagerie, and the author of the story, Ken Liu. Only include relevant background information to the story in your introduction. Or you could use a compelling quote, draw an anthology, or mention a brief example from the story as hooks or ways to engage your reader and capture their interest in your essay. Again, you want to assume the reader is familiar with the story, so you don't need to write a summary of the story. And you want to build up to the thesis, so you shouldn't just jump right in and start your introduction with your thesis. It should be somewhere at the end, if not at the very end of your introductory paragraph. And you don't want to philosophize about life in general. You want to stick with using information that is related directly to the short story. For the body paragraphs, you're going to develop a line of reasoning. So each paragraph should have a single focus. Try using a topic sentence that will show what the topic is for that specific paragraph, and then add details with evidence from the story to support the paragraph. Make sure the details clearly show their relationship to the thesis. They should all be related to the thesis. And some body paragraphs should include secondary sources from literary criticism to support them. And I will add that for each major supporting idea in the body paragraphs, you should have a quote from the story, a direct quote, to support that major supporting idea or claim. For the conclusion, going to wrap up your paper with a sense of completion. You can do this by touching on the meaning of the ending of the story. You can explain how the theme continues to be important to audiences now, but you don't want to philosophize in general. And some other pointers: do not evaluate the writer or the quality of the story. You're critiquing the story, not the author. Focus on the story and one theme. Don't try to convert someone from one religion, belief, or opinion to another. Introduce your quotes. Give credit and correctly format citations. And try to dig deep. Try to go beyond stating the obvious in your analysis of the story. And that concludes this presentation. Thank you.